I am honored to be here. Thank you for coming. My name is shamaness Chokbar, and I'm coming from Republic of Tuva. Since this is called Tuvan, Shamanic Divination and Prophecy, I'd like to start with actually talking about the first word, Tuvan, because a lot of people don't really know what Tuvan means. So Tuva is a little republic that is actually located at the exact geographical center of Asia, and it is on a map above Mongolia, if you're familiar. It's actually southern part of Siberia. Outside of Tuva, Tuva is well known for throat singers. Tuvan throat singers, very diverse nature, because we literally have camels in the south and reindeers in the north. And another thing that Tuva is very well known for is shamans. And why is that? Actually, Tuva is considered to be land of shamans. Shamanism was never interrupted, even though, of course, there was the repression time when shamans were persecuted. And I have a story I never actually told before, that one of the story was in 1942. 400 shamans were put in a place like a concentration camp, and then at one day they were all put in a barrack and burned. And people who burned them left and came back 2 days later, and they found 3 big ice pieces. Inside of them were 3 shamans that were still alive. So one of those shamans is the grandfather of a shaman right now is in Tuva, who is right now actually, like, he was for a while had a name Supreme Shaman of Tuva. That was in 2009. That was election among shamans of Tuva, and they elected Supreme Shaman. He is, that person, his name is Karaol Tulushevich Topchunov. He is, that was his grandfather. So, and actually recently in June, that was another election where shamans from all over Russia came to Tuva, and they were electing Supreme Shaman of Russia, the whole Russia, which never happened before. That name didn't exist before. But right now, that same person is chosen as the Supreme Shaman of Russia. And Tuva is the only place in Russia, and I believe in the whole world right now, where shamanism is actually considered as the religion. Even though shamanism is not, strictly speaking, a religion, it is actually ancestor of all religions. But they put it that way, and actually when the president of Russia was Yeltsin, he did that in order to protect the cultural heritage of Tuva. So Tuva is the only place where shamanism is protected in that type of way. So even though those 400 shamans were burned, with 3 of them alive, how do you think they stayed alive? What do you think?
I don't have a clue.
because the spirits that worked with those 3 shamans and the power of that individual, the shaman himself, were able to protect with the ice against the fire. Think about that. It's really phenomenal how they were able to survive. And back then, at that time, so shamans, families were, whoever was a shaman in the family, families were hiding the shaman. They didn't, so that the shaman will stay alive. Mm-hmm. And people were coming to shamans at night, and shamans practice without drum or smoke or fire, because actually shamans could practice without anything. All they need is this. And this is called shamanic mirror, or in Tuvan is called kuzungu. So this is the most important thing for the shaman. Everything else is optional. And it's interesting because till this day, even though this is 2018, my family is afraid to tell people that I'm a shaman. And yesterday when Faye told me that they're considering if it's okay with me to live stream, I had to think for a little bit because I realized very deep inside I do have a little fear for a lot of people knowing that I'm a shaman. Because it's okay, you know, workshop here, workshop there, but broadcasting and then people knowing who I am, turns out I did have that fear still. Because I'm sure I was also, you know, my ancestors were persecuted as well. So
it's a bit like thinking in this current political situation.
Right, exactly. So in Tuva, there are 2 societies of shamans and 1 organization where I belong to the Society of Shaman, and when I come back right now in Tuva, I'm planning to become a member of the organization that is led by that supreme shaman of now Tuva and Russia. He's a remarkable individual. And my sister actually, I have a younger sister who is going to have her initiation as well as a shaman, and she's going to be initiated by him and with me present as well. Mm-hmm. So, did we cover Tuva part?
Yes, we did.
Tuvan.
Oh, yes.
And the next word is shamanic. And that is also a very interesting word because a lot of people use it and don't understand what it means. And including when I even already became a shaman, exactly to say when the spirits made me a shaman, I didn't understand when I heard people using shamanic this and shamanic that. I was thinking, wait a minute, well, shamanic, it's like belonging to a shaman, right? Like adjective, right? So we think it's either belonging to a shaman or something to do with a shaman. But I've heard people saying like shamanic cereal or shampoo or, you know, like, how is it possible? What is shamanic? And so I have a non-physical spiritual teacher, part of whose consciousness is attached to mine at all times, 24/7. Even when I'm doing what I consider like mundane, ordinary things like cleaning or washing or cooking, but he's always there. And so he always interacts with me no matter, I could ask him anything I'd like. So one time I said, what is actually shamanic? Bless you. And he said that to live shamanically, and I don't know if it's a word in English, shamanically, is it?
Absolutely, it works.
Okay, I made it up. So he says, to live shamanically actually means when you live aware, consciously aware of many different realities simultaneously. To live shamanically means to live consciously being aware of many different realities simultaneously. And that could only happen if someone is living fully in the now. So he also said that shamanic means being totally aware of your divinity and divinity of others. It's a very important point about being aware of your own divinity and divinity of others, and being aware of all the simultaneous realities happening around us at once. That's what shamanic means. So, Tuvan, shamanic, so we covered 2 words now. And the third is divination and prophecy. So even the word divination actually in English also speaks to the divinity, right? To the divine nature.
Yes.
Right? And so divinational tools and methods, they're really portals and access points into the now. Because all the information that we like to acquire, it's already existing right now, at this particular moment. Not in the future, even though the theme is future is fluid, which is beautiful, absolutely beautiful words, future is fluid. But if we say that future is fluid, then it automatically means that at one point that future is going to become now, that is fluid, and then it's going to become past, that is fluid. And I'm sure you've heard a lot about the nature of time, which is, again, a fascinating subject.
Right.
And my teacher, I'm going to talk a lot about teacher. My teacher, because I don't know anything really. He knows everything. So he says that time is always standing still. It is you who is moving towards more of yourself. So how we actually are able to move towards more of ourselves if we don't have the clues along the way, the science. And so divination tools are just that. They are helping us to stream that information in our minds now, so we could move towards future more aware of who we are. So, and prophecy, I believe that before I get into specific Tuvan methods, I believe that prophecy is the highest form of ability to hear. And in fact, all shamanic abilities are directly connected to the ability to hear. And again, as my teacher says, he says, to listen and to hear, it is 2 different things. A lot of people, all of us are listening, but ability to hear is directly connected to the depths of your emptiness inside. So if you don't have a lot of empty space inside, your ability to hear, you may listen, but your ability to hear is severely limited. So anything we do, any practices that allow us to be able to grow the emptiness inside, that is of supreme importance. And actually in all the workshops that I'm doing, no matter what is the subject, I always get to the same thing, because at the base of all of it is the ability of an individual to expand their consciousness in order to get to the now. Because if the consciousness of us, of any of us, if you perceive the reality, the physical reality, through this physical apparatus called eyes. And so you see the world, or I see the world only like this. So it's very, very limiting. So expanded state of consciousness that is absolutely required for any shamanic the word, right? The word shamanic, now we know what it means. For any shamanic activity requires learning how to expand the consciousness beyond the parameters of the physical body, which in and of itself, for a lot of people, already is frightening notion. They think, well, what does it mean? Like, this is me, this is my body, this is my eyes. Like, how do we do that? And it is a skill that is acquired, and with practice, it gets better and better and easier. And in fact, the key to spiritual development is in the awareness of what is beyond the physical side. Mm-hmm. So if we only live our life here on earth, looking through these physical apparatuses called eyes, and then immediately if I'm looking through this, then it's me and here is you. Mm. So we seeming to be separate, right? But that is very, very limited perspective. But the moment you're able to expand your view beyond the parameters of the physical body, which happens in the expanded state of consciousness or shamanic state of consciousness, or in other words is trance state, and the trance state has degrees. I used to be very afraid of the word trance. Like trance, that's so scary. Right? But trance is the word transformation that all of us right now understanding that this world, right, we are in, our societies, countries need transformation, and we are going through the transformation. But a lot of people don't understand that the word transformation contains the word trance. And it's there for a reason. Mm-hmm. In order to transform anything, we need to go to a stage of trance, or, to say it lighter, expanded state of consciousness. And that will solidify our transformation, new state. So new state of anything, absolutely anything, is not possible without trance state. And trance state is a natural ability for all of us, and a lot of writers actually do understand that they are not really understanding how they write, right? It's
absolutely.
Just sort of comes out almost on its own, or any kind of creative people, they say, well, I was inspired. I was almost like in a trance. I couldn't put something down. I had to do it. So transformational activities, and you coming here right now, is also an activity that the moment you come in here and you hear the sound, you put the offerings, because in shamanism, offering is very, very important. And why? Because at the base of the shamanism, there is an understanding that everything is alive. Or the other way to say it, everything has the, how I say it, the other side, non-physical side. And we could call it anything. We could call it essence, energy, soul, spirit. And that other side has a consciousness just like you and me. It just is, it's just a little bit different. And in shamanism, when shamans or people who live by that shamanic principles, because you don't have to be a shaman in order to live shamanically, or in order to practice that understanding that everything is alive. For instance, if you know that everything is alive, when you go to a forest, it's not possible for you to just like take something, or it's not possible to spit on the ground. It's not possible to behave in a way as if you think you are here, like, as if it's like belonging to you.
Sure.
As if it's yours and you could do anything with it. So you become very gentle. You become very loving. And offerings is actually also that, reflecting just that when you offer something that is nourishing to us. So those beautiful offerings, this is food, right? So this is food, and we here in the physical bodies require that food. So when we offer something that is giving us life, and we're giving it to someone who we know is there, but we don't even see, a lot of us, with the physical eyes, that is an act of high reverence. This is an act of a high, it's a very loving act. When someone comes to our houses, we offer them food, what we've got, right? So, but when we offer it to non-physical beings, then we empower actually ourselves. And it's another tool to become more conscious. So there are so many tools, and actually shamanic anything, and shamanism in general, even if you're not a shaman yet in this reincarnation, but I believe that all human beings at some point on the reincarnational scale will become shamans. And shamanism, in fact, is directly connected to the spiritual development. So even if you, in this reincarnation, not a shaman yet, and you do this kind of things, you progress in your spiritual development much, much faster. And in fact, shamans are, how I call it, speedifiers of spiritual development. And why shamans are able to do that? Not because shamans themselves are brilliant or anything. It's because of that constant presence of the spirits who made them shamans. And because of that presence, my consciousness, let's say, developed much, much faster. So because our consciousness is actually developing very slow. Otherwise, we would be all enlightened already and would never be coming again for another incarnation. So the fact that it takes us every getting the dots together, oh, now I'm getting it. And then from the moment you get it, or I get it, it takes a while to actually to implement still. It's a really slow process. So our consciousness is a slow moving machine, and shamanic practices help us to go faster to the degree that you can.
Yeah, it's very much like the sacred. I mean, sacred landscapes is an access to other worlds. It's a transformation, and when you do become empty within yourself and feel a place where you are, something happens, a transformation. You step into a different territory, you go deeper within yourself, but you allow yourself to take on the information that exists all around us.
Exactly.
And begin to actually access this and begin to work with it.
Absolutely.
Emptiness is really the key.
Exactly. And let's talk about how you get more empty. What do you think? What is 2 brilliant tools that is most available?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Well, I really do think that again, it's being completely open. Astrology works like this. Buddhism it's a key idea in Buddhism, is that idea of emptiness, because you can't receive anything unless you're empty.
Exactly. So let me then suggest.
Go for it.
It's meditation, of course. So meditation, any type of meditation, is one of the best tools to become more and more empty. And in fact, I believe greatly that anything I am right now, anything I can do right now is strictly because of the meditation. And another one is, of course, suffering. So any crises that we have, and any time that life falls apart and we are greatly unhappy and destroyed, in despair, that is the best way to empty yourself, because during that time, all of this is coming out. So, and actually the idea of shamanic illness and shamanic initiation is nothing more but when the shamanic helping spirits, the spirits of the ancestors, come to an individual, all they do actually, they make a person suffer in a very short period of time, like humongous suffering on all levels. And so that now whatever, let's say, I was holding on to before, that is totally erased because of the amount of suffering that I had to go through. And then you are reborn, then you have different identity because you no longer identify yourself with all your previous anything. You become
shamanism is turning an affliction. No, it's turning an affliction into a skill. And it's like a threshold between worlds where you go beyond your body and open yourself up to receive what's available.
Exactly. And so now let's get back to divination.
Okay.
So divination tools are those portals, right? And in Tuva, the main several methods that shamans use, first one, and the one I'm going to teach at the end of the August here, and it's one of the most basic ones, and also non-shamans can use it, because of course there's a degree to it, but still you could learn and use it in your own life. So it's 41 little river stones. It's called Huvanak, and originally, ideally, it's supposed to be 41 little stones from 41 rivers. So it was a while for you to collect it, not buying it and for $5. So you have to really put your time and traveling into 41 little stones. And then you basically, when people work, shamans or non, working with stones, what are stones? Stones are coming from the earth, right? So it's earth consciousness and earth intelligence and spirits of the earth. And the stones were here since the beginning, so therefore they actually know everything.
Right.
Absolutely everything. If we but learn how to hear. Of course, there are certain, like how you could, put them in certain ways, so that you read them, but at its base, any type of shamanic divination is based on communication with the spirits, be it the spirits of the stones, the spirits of this room, the spirits of this museum, the spirits of the street, the spirits of the tree, the ancestral spirits, your power animals, gods and goddesses. It's unbelievable how we could receive information. So that is one main base method how Tuvan shamans do divination, is with the stones. And another one is using Kuzungu, shaman's mirror. So shamans turn in on the other side and they gaze in it. And if they do reading for another being or human being, so they actually take it off, let the person hold it and put it on the heart area with the question that they have, then take it and gaze over here. And when I or anyone who is a shaman gazing, you see the images that appear. And of course, it connected to the extrasensory perception of that human being who is a shaman. And also, there is a telepathic communication of the spirit of the Kuzungu or the shaman's mirror and the teachers who are always observing. Shaman is never alone and never can do anything without just on their own. Shamans are looking like they're singular, but there is a huge team that they're working, exactly, that they're working with anyone who comes. And another method is by using the fire, which is either fire like on the ground, and again, everything that is shamanic divination, you first feed. Means you first give the offering, and only then you ask. So just by even doing that, offering and then the question, is already putting you into a different state. Compared to people who I see, some people who are doing different types of divination, and they just doing it at the worst possible times for themselves, and they just feel all emotionally out of balance, and they run to their cars or to something to know what's going on. But any type of divination needs to be done very rarely, because you need to live with the question yourself. You need to live, be soaked in it, feel horrible about yourself for a while, about your life. And only then, when you already lived through all the emotional ups and downs, when you feel almost like you don't care anymore how it's going to be, that means you're ready to hear the truth. Because a lot of people who like divination, and I'm sure since you came here, you are very much into divinational tools, they want to know what they want to know, not the truth.
That's right.
And
they want to know that what they don't know is working, even though it isn't.
Exactly. So it needs to be an ability and time to finally say, I don't care, I want to know the truth. And when you don't care, that is the time to use anything, because even if you do it for yourself, because then you say, I am ready to hear the truth. So another method is using a drum, which I like particularly, is when you do the offerings, then you take the drum. And my method is not asking questions, but receiving, which is actually connected to prophecy. When you don't ask questions, then the universe gives you bigger picture. When you ask, you're too narrow. You're like zeroing on something that is, in the long run, maybe is not that important. But when you don't ask questions, but do the offerings and then take the drum or rattle, even you at home, just maybe rattle, and then start breathing deeply, and depending on your level of extrasensory abilities, you'll start slowly, maybe not right away. I'm sure some of you are very developed here. I could feel some of you, my sisters and brothers. So you'll start feeling the answer or getting an idea that is not possible without the offering. Because the spirits, the moment you put something out, everything changes. Because now you kind of smoothed your way. Now you are more ready for interaction directly. So prophecy is an ability to not using any tools, but receive enough emptiness that you receive it directly, even without drumming or anything like that. What else?
You're doing brilliantly, by the way.
Thank you. I was. No, it's very funny because I used to speak very good English. In fact, I studied linguistics.
It's fine.
But hold on. But you know what? The moment they made me a shaman, I have difficulties speaking any languages now. It's very strange. And one of the workshops I had here before, I just came from Tuva and spoke there Russian. And when I came here, I was getting ready for the workshop and I asked my daughter, do you think I'll be able to speak coherent enough in English? And she told me, switch in the middle of the workshop to Russian. And if they notice, they are not doing it right, because it was a workshop on how to get into expanded state of consciousness. Because in the expanded state of consciousness, you don't need any language. You understand a rock, you understand the tree, you understand the wall.
Sure.
And it's the only state of consciousness that grounds us in the now. So right now there are so many teachers that teach us about the importance of the now, right? But I believe that shamanic practices that are so ancient are ancient and are still working for a reason. Of course, we could do so many mind-related exercises to get into the now point, but why do all of that when we could just take a rattle? And don't have any thought, and just, anytime we do any activity that is illogical to us, that makes no sense, is the actually shortcut to all we want. It's because it connects us to our subconscious mind, and when we move our bodies, as in shamanic dancing meditation or shamanic power animal dancing meditation, we are allowing our bodies to move without suspending the judgment of ourselves, right? Like, why I'm doing this strange movement? That just makes no sense. And in fact, my teacher says that you don't have to be out of your mind in order to get out of your mind. So any shamanic activity is helping us to get out of our minds.
That's right.
That's the biggest benefit to all human beings, not just to someone who is a shaman, of doing something like this. Or dancing, strangely. Because when we dance, normally we dance in front of other people, right? When we go dancing, I suppose, right? And we see the now moment, the expanded state of consciousness, is not possible with their closed heart. It's not possible when you are inauthentic. It's not possible when you're wearing social mask. It's not possible when you're afraid of people who are next to you. So expanded state of consciousness is only possible when we, in a safe environment, like right now here, right? We are in a safe environment. We are outside from the world, and we allow ourselves, for just this time maybe, to put the mask aside, and the best way to think about it, how my teacher suggests, is to think like right now, this particular room, this man here, this woman here, those offerings, it's a dream. And in fact, as my teachers teaches me, is that dream reality is the base reality and physical reality is the secondary reality. And some of you who maybe experienced lucid dreaming, when you're dreaming and in the dream you know you are dreaming, and that gives you options how you'd like to act. So even when you're afraid, you could still do something because you know it's just a dream. So right now, imagine this is a dream. This is not real. I'm not real. Ted is not real either. This is your dream, and since it's your dream, it's about you. And imagine you are a shaman in that dream. And all these people who came here, they came here to receive something, an opening, some new understanding, some dots connecting, some new awareness, some inspiration on their path. What would you do? What would you say? Maybe you look at all of them and imagine they all love you. Imagine all these people in this room love you. And appreciate you. And accept you the way you are right now.
I was reminded of a little rhyme. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Mm-hmm. Is a very profound little rhyme.
It is. It is so. Would you like some questions before we start dancing here?
You can come dancing with me anytime.
I love that. I love that.
All right, so let's open it up to some questions. Is there anyone in the audience who has a question? I see someone over here. Hold on 1 second.
Hi there.
Hi.
So what was it that had you resist becoming a shaman? And when was the moment when you surrendered to the calling?
You asked why I resisted? Okay. So, see, I was a young woman. I was 28 at that time, and I considered myself a fancy one. I was well educated. I was working at the government of the Republic of Tuva. I had a apartment, car, country house, husband, a daughter, and because I spoke German, actually was my That's interesting.
That somebody has set up our alarm from the inside, which is a little odd. So we'll get that fixed, but let's try to continue if we can. Hopefully that's not too distracting.
Shall I continue? Yes. Okay. So, because my main language was German, I'm fascinated by German culture, and then there was English. And so I studied languages. I traveled to Europe, to many countries, and I was fascinated how other people live. And then suddenly this shaman tells me that I am a shaman. And for me, shamans, I knew that they existed, but they were like, archaic, something that very strange people in strange robes, bang the drum. It's just all very out of what my reality was. So I did not believe, actually. When he said that to me, I didn't believe. I did not take it seriously. He actually was telling me 3 times. And the very last time, he told me, did you tell your family? And I said, no, I didn't even consider it important. And he told me, you obviously don't understand what it means that I'm telling you, because he told me that the spirits of my ancestors came to him and told him that I'm a shaman, that I need to do a ritual, that he needs to do a ritual for me. So I'm going to be connected to my spirits of my ancestors and do the work he does. But he was most famous, he is now already transitioned, healer, shaman healer in Tuva. He was even working on Thursday at the government, like in a separate room, and people from government were able to make an appointment because the line to see him was starting at night, lifeline. Imagine? So he was extremely gifted, and in fact he healed me a couple of times when I really needed it.
We've been besieged by crickets.
The spirits are playing. In fact, you know why it's happening? Actually, every time.
Whoa.
See, I acknowledge the spirits, and they.
You did that.
Yes. So you know what? Every time someone tries to record the shamanic ritual, you know that their the recording devices usually malfunction. So now, see, I shouldn't have said yes to recording. So where were we? So we were at the point where he was saying that you need to consult your family because this is a very important subject. And when I called my family and told them that, they said, you know what, you actually have great-grandfather on your mother's side and great-grandfather and great-grandmother on the other side that used to be shamans. Till that day, I didn't know that. And they said, we don't know anything about shamanism either, so you decide. And I imagine a line of people standing in front of my condo and said, you know what, I don't know if I love people that much yet. Because, you know, love for people came a lot later. I did not love people at that moment. I only loved my family, friends. So, like most people do, but then later on, now I love everyone, and in fact, right now, to me, there is no difference between your mother or my mother. The only difference between my mother and yours is just with my mother, I have the history of something. I remember the stories. With your mother, it's just going to be still mother, but no history yet. That's the only difference. And the way I said at some point yes is because I had no other choice. After that, I came actually to the States and forgot about that prophecy, because that was a prophecy. So I forgot about that and moved on with my life. And it was moving great till a certain point where all of a sudden everything I wanted to do didn't work. Like nothing. I couldn't get anything that I wanted, nothing. Like not just some parts of life, nothing worked. And that didn't work part lasted for many years. Until I started to scratch my head and saying, wait a minute, I remember the shaman saying to me that I am a shaman. And that last time when I said no, he said, even though you said no now, you're gonna basically pay for it because now you would have to work for it yourself. He could have done the ritual and I would have been already connected and working for the benefit of people. And it took me many years to open my channel to my spirits of ancestors myself. That was a lot of suffering.
All right, does anybody else have any questions? We have someone over here.
Hello, Chokbar. Thank you
Hello.
for coming here to us. You're wonderful. Blessings upon you.
Emptiness.
Emptiness. You know why we are doing questions and answers right now before the drumming part? Because every time after the drumming, people have no questions. That's why we decided to do it different today, so you still have your questions.
I was just wondering if you could say something about how much shamanism is coming from so many parts of the world to... I'm from Ireland originally, and now I see so many people interested in the ancient Celtic ways as well, and in your traditions, of how we can do more work to heal this country here where we live. And what do you have a feeling about how we can bring our wisdom together?
Very good question. I recently started Shamanic Club meetup. It's going to be a fourth meeting on Friday in celebration of total lunar eclipse.
Nice.
It's going to be a prayer walk on the ocean on Friday afternoon, and then on Saturday morning, 5:30 to 7:30 a.m. is going to be prayer walk in the forest, sunrise, and then in the evening on Saturday is going to be a power animal dancing meditation.
She lives just across the river, by the way.
Yeah, the Edgewater is very close by, is literally on the river, 25 minutes from Port Authority bus terminal. You could come. But back to your question. So I believe that the transformation starts with each and every one of us, and we can't affect the society if we are not working on ourselves. Because I also see a lot of people who are going on so many protests, and they're so full of hatred, for this, that, or the other. But that is not how it's going to work. We need to work on balancing ourselves and feeling divine, feeling the divinity of self and others. And then we are going to be accepting what's happening. The problem is not what's happening, the problem is that we are not accepting it. But this is just, since it's happening, it's a necessary stage in the human development. So we can't reject it. We have to say, come to us, this evilness, and we need to love it.
It's telling us something.
It's telling us something
about what is inherent in the way we are. That's very difficult to look at because it's the dark side of our being. And it's important to take it in and to really recognize it and to work with it. Because guess what? It's here. Mm-hmm. It's very shamanistic time.
Exactly. And a lot of people are actually possessed. If you didn't know that, I'm going to tell you. A lot of people are actually possessed by the evil spirits. Nobody talks about it, but it's true. It's really true. And so we need more shamans, and actually the spirits put shamans in specific parts of the world for a reason. No shaman stays in some part of the world where they not supposed to. There is a specific number even of shamans that's supposed to be on earth. And the rest of us who maybe not yet, then it's good to understand those principles, that we can't defeat the evil by becoming evil.
So shamans in this room, arise.
All right, we have time for only one more question. I know there might be a few more, but all right. Ready?
Sorry. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing your visions. It's really a pleasure to hear from you. I actually had 2 questions. I don't know if that's okay. The first was sort of related to what you just answered. What do you do when you meet people who seem like they are possessed by evil spirits in your life that are just people around you? And I also wanted to hear about your teacher and how you met them and also how you converse with them on a daily basis.
Okay. When I see people possessed, I don't do anything at all. I just recognize that there is more and more possessions. People who come to me, because they recognize, because see, there are two different types of people. Some people are possessed without knowing they're possessed. That's very dangerous. They think that's them. And there are people who are possessed, but they recognize it because they recognize that this behavior is very odd, and they can't stop doing it, but they, on some level, think this is very strange. I normally don't do that. And like violent behavior, for instance. Violent behavior when they beat someone up and they observe a little bit themselves and think, why I'm doing this? I don't understand. And if it's repetitive, like let's say they go outside and they beat people up, and then after a while, I've had several people like that who then look for shaman and they come. And when they come, then I remove it. Not I personally, but my team. My invisible team. And that's one of the works of the shamans, is to remove, as I call them, energy parasites, as well as possessions or any kind of spirits that are attached to the subtle bodies. And you asked about how I communicate with my teacher. I love my teacher so much. Because he, first I'm going to say that when I started to hear, when it was started to get to the point when I was able to hear words that were not mine, I first received the initiation teacher, and she was a female, and she was with me in the beginning stages. Then all of a sudden she said it's time for her to go, and they gave me another teacher, and it was a teacher that was with me, also female, that was with me when they were doing rituals for me. For me, the very first ritual was for me to remember that I am a shaman. And it lasted 2 nights because I was so resistant. I was so afraid, and I didn't understand what does it mean. Do I have to now, for the rest of my life, be so weird? So, and then by the end of those rituals, all of a sudden they introduced to me this new teacher who was male, and when he appeared, how I hear telepathic communication. Before, I wouldn't ever believe that it's real. Telepathic communication, usually we read about it or just in the books or in the movies. It's a real thing. Telepathic communication is real and could happen between the minds of people with the still humans in the human body, and between consciousnesses that don't have physical body, either people who just recently transitioned or any other consciousness that we're just saying everything is alive. So when you become extremely sensitive, shaman is someone who is extremely, extremely, extremely sensitive. It's a person who not only hears their own thoughts, but your thoughts as well, and the thoughts of the table, and the thoughts of Tad. You know what I mean? So it's telepathic communication. It's actually nothing like, but it sounds like, a little strange, but actually it's very normal. And between two people, words are of a much lesser importance than thoughts. We are actually communicating to each other on that telepathic level as well at all times. That's why when you meet someone and suddenly you don't like them, even though they didn't do anything wrong to you, you don't like them. Why? Because they are broadcasting something. They have some thoughts that you pick up on, even though they didn't yet do anything wrong to you. That is telepathic. It's just that you feel and you don't know how. So, and then when I received him, I was very upset because I wanted female teacher. Because I was so used to the female energy of the two previous teachers. I remember I cried actually the day, and they told me that the teachers come and go, you stay. And then later on I've learned that what happens to shamans if they, let's say if I am still female, which you think I am,
I think so.
I think so, yes. Sometimes I already wonder. So because the longer the shaman is a shaman, it really becomes exactly. So I've learned that there are some people in the north of Russia that, let's say, if a man who used to have a family, then all of a sudden spirits of the ancestors came and made a man a shaman, and he suddenly starts dressing like a woman and act like a woman. And that actually is, it's a real thing. And it actually is, that happens when his teacher is female. And since it's joined, see, my consciousness is always joined with my teacher. And if I am male and he is female, somebody has to play the other part for the balance to happen. So then, once I've learned that, I was like, thank God, I received the male teacher. Otherwise, I would have been gradually becoming male.
I don't think there's any danger of that.
I think so. Yes, and he helped me to become more conscious a lot, because he is always there, always. So it's like almost always having a guest in your house who walks with you everywhere. So you go to the bathroom, he's there. You go over here, he's there. And at first you're like on your best behavior, right? And then you become who you are. You can't always be someone you're not. So that helped me greatly to accept myself the way I am, with all the, what I thought bad things and with all the good things. Because by him being there present through my bad or good, so he showed such acceptance that I accepted myself. And now by the ripple effect, I accept others, because we can't accept others until we first accept it fully ourselves. Also, we can't forgive someone. We can only forgive someone to the extent we can forgive ourselves. So it all goes back to self. And shamanic practices, even if you're not shamans, are about self. Harmonizing yourself, connecting to your body in a conscious way, connecting to your heart, connecting to your power animals, connecting to your spirit guides if you're already more developed and have more light into your subtle bodies. Because we all depend on the light. The more conscious someone is becoming, the more light they're able to receive and carry and then project.
Ritual.
So, what do you think? What shall we do?
Do it. Go for it.
So, would you be interested in maybe getting up from your seats, and I will turn a piece of music on, and you just don't pay attention to anybody else. Pretend this is your dream, remember? And move your body in a way that is, it doesn't have to be like vigorous or anything, but move it consciously in a different way that you normally used to. Let's say, normally you come to a dancing party and you do this, right? Tan, tan, tan. And instead, you maybe close your eyes and you connect to your body parts, and you think, I have an arm, I have another arm, and I can move it. So that you see all shamanic practices put a different, like a spin in your brain. So it helps to rewire the brain in a totally new way. So all shamanic practices are about that. It's about you see, like it's all rigid there and it stands there. Now when we are doing this, it's like, oh, what's going on? And you all of a sudden become more present. You all of a sudden become in the, you are in the now because you're doing this, something that is illogical. You're getting out of your mind. You're allowing yourself to do that. And you are feeling that other people love you and accept you when you're doing this. Just joking. So would you like that?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's see.
And if you need to, feel free to come into the aisles if you need some room.
Right. If you'd like, you could get on the stage as well.
You're welcome to come on stage if you're willing to do
Whoever
that.
feels like, shamanic for real. Oh, you do feel shamanic. Can we make it louder? And a little more louder? And more louder? Breathe deeply. Breathe deeply in and out. Make sure your exhale is longer than inhale. That was great. So right now I suggest we do toning exercise. which is the same thing you're just doing, but you don't have to move so much, but you breathe deeply. And on exhale, you make some sound, which is it's best to do vocal, let's say a, o, u, m, or you could do just om, or a, or any combination that you like. And you could do it on the exhale only, then you could rest. And don't pay attention to others, so don't start and end with them. Just do however it comes to you. And after that, I'm going to go to the green room, blow dry my drum a little bit, and then, the shamans...
Don't ask.
No, no the shamans, when they work with a drum, and ancient shamans, and nowadays, it needs to be a fire to blow dry, because it's right now, especially it's so humid outside. So it needs a fire. We don't, unfortunately, have the fire here, so I have to run there. And once I'm back, we could do shamanic meditation, where I'm going to ask the spirits of your ancestors. I'm going to ask your power animals. I'm going to ask your higher selves to come and assist you right now, tonight, to harmonize your subtle bodies. And all you need to do once we're doing it, it's just breathe deeply, and also make sure your exhale is longer than inhale. And just totally relax and don't try to get anything or achieve anything. Just let go and listen to the sound. Would you like to sit for the vocal? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, let's do that. Would you like to start? Okay, so you breathe in.
Om